My name is Kurian. I'll give my introductions or more details later. We'll jump on to the blockchain and other things. This is my more primary slide. I try to go in depth a little bit. Blockchain. Anybody heard the name, or at least heard about the term blockchain as a technology? There are terms like Bitcoin. Everybody knows or try to read about. Anybody looked at YouTube or tried to figure out what is this? Actually, I'm doing the same thing, right? I've gone through a lot of YouTube videos, and I'm trying to apply machine learning. I was talking to Dinesh, during lunchtime, how the machine learning is these days, how utilized like. So we'll talk about, how it being evolved, like a person to person, how it works. We may look at it, and then there are some concepts of business, how the ledgers and how the ledgers enter blockchain, and then some new term or coin term called miners. And it's not a old term like for all data scientists, or I know all of you assumed you are in the data space, right? So when you say miners and when you talk about data, data mining, right, or related to that, not typical miners, or you can say gold miners or things like. And I put a next one thing as a next big thing, a question mark. We know internet is kind of a big thing happening or continually. And the blockchain, there are a lot of discussion. It is going to be a next big thing. And the way you transact with peer-to-peer transactions. And then the regular current ledgers may, move into blockchain type of technologies, and then there may be institutional changes and things like that. So we will get inside one by one. This slide is a stopgap slide. So in today's session, I'll be trying to give some glimpse of the block and distributed ledgers and smart contracts. Again, it's very, very high level. And when I put my title here, I said as a researcher, but I'm not a pure college-style researcher. I mean, I would say amateur researcher. I'm in data space about 29 years. I work for IT type of jobs almost 29 years. So I always keep on trying to learn, and I keep speak. Right? So unless I start speaking, you don't go and research and talk about the same. So blockchain, I'll try to run a parallel analogy, because I've seen in the room many of you maybe work with the databases, BI, analytics, many things are coming. And then these days everybody talk about machine learning and then artificial intelligence. So the block is nothing but only generally two attributes, right? Data and some key, like I say, hash of this particular block, and then hash of the previous block. So that's only one block. I want to run the same thing with our old school, not really old school. You can call us like a data, what is one data unit? Or we call a record, right? A record. Like when you save data into database, we call a record. So this block is nothing but kind of a record, right? You have some transaction. In this case, they talk only peer-to-peer, but it's nothing but a record, right? And it has got a key. When you talk in a regular database, also there is a key, right? The key called the primary key. Ideally, there should be minimum one key to store in the regular type of databases. I don't have any discussion on the slides about databases and relational databases and other things, but I try to run the analogy to you to sink in. That's how I got synced into this and look at my next big thing. So Bitcoin, only one reference in this slide, and these slides are coming from one YouTube presentation. I gave the link at the end, or you should be able to search and get it. Data we mentioned, and what is the data? It's a minimum information, like a currency, nothing but, or you're paying somebody. That's who paying to whom, and what is the money, right? That's just a data example. And the key is a hash key. If you worked in databases, you might have heard about it, the term at least, hash joins and hash keys, and It's like a random number to identify the block or identify the record in databases. So I don't want to show the real hash key in a presentation, that's why I did mask it. Okay. Now, there are three attributes I said in the block, right? Data, hash, or the key of the data, and then it'll store the previous block's key also. So in a block, there'll be three facets, right? Like data, the key of the data, and the key of the previous data. And that is needed to create a chain. That's why that that picture shows red and yellow and then the green blocks. When it comes to traditional databases, you have the records, you have the key, like we call primary key, but you're stacking the data on top of each other, right? You have one pillar kind of thing, a primary key, and all the data sets kind of stacking up. Here it's more linked together, right? It's more linked together, and your chain can become enormously long, right? But that's its blockchain technology, the fundamental structure. It stores data in a kind of a linked list style. So far, you all good? And this is a little more explanation on how the hash work. First block, it shows a hash, and then 00 is the previous or first block's hash. It just giving an illustration of the hashes. I want to show this slide to understand more, right? We mentioned the data, hash of the data, and the previous block. So when you see the blue, basically the block 3 hash, the blue arrow shows that it has a hash key of the previous block. And it comes one by one. When it reaches to the first block, there is no key to refer previous block, right? It's the first block. So they call genesis block. It's a term. I don't want to go into Bitcoin. It's a different discussion. So when you store data like this, like a long line of big chain, you cannot go and change in between. If you change that, it can impact, it's like a Cardodex, or it can have a big effect, following the chain, right? Or you're breaking the chain, right? So let's see the next slide. And when you change the data, your hash key of the data changed. That's what happened to the red block, right? 2. And then the remaining chain on that entire blockchain, it doesn't have any meaning, right? When it comes to traditional RDBMS, primary keys, ideally, are not supposed to change. But it can change, right? But they're also, they all generally say, okay, you delete the record and you reinsert the new record, something like that, right? It may be a little more easier, but when it comes to blockchain, it's not that easy. You have to dismantle the entire chain and reconstruct it. So ideally, I would say, in that case, it's so complex, you don't dare to do that. So that's the reason all these records or the blocks, once you record it, it is recorded for permanent, Or they call data is not, you cannot tamper. You cannot tamper once you did. You can change it, but that's a really, really long process. So that's one example they're showing. If you want to really change it, then there is a process called what change you're making. You have to prove it, verify it, and then you write it, and then restamp the whole remaining blocks. You have to make sure that entire block is always valid. Okay, I'm talking the blockchain very fundamental principles. Okay, you may hear different terms. When you say hashing, basically your personal information or real key information is all going. The hash you cannot really read and make any sense of it. So you are de-identifying data and then putting into this chain. But you will be owning the key, and then you should be able to get back. Now, I'm adding one more term here, like the miners. The proof of work, whenever you want somebody going to change or updating the one of the block inside the chain, that's done by the miners. Right? That means the miners should have the real beefy machines or network of machines to have compute power to traverse through the entire chain and then make the updates. Because you are going disturbing one of the chain in the middle, right? So that's one area a lot of new companies or existing big companies may try to put money into it and try to mine the data. A couple more interesting scenarios. You know what is the importance of miners. You'll come to that slide, and then I'll explain. We can be interactive because it's not a big group. If anybody wants to stop me and ask me a simple question, I can do it. Yeah.
I read that you don't necessarily need miners in order to create a blockchain. Is that true?
It's like internet, right? Internet. If you ask me who owns internet? Nobody, right? But everybody using internet, every company is using internet. You are partially owning it, and you are maintaining it, and you are managing it, right? It's similar concept comes here. The entire blockchain not owned by one person or one entity. It's owned by people who are participating in, right? You have a block, that means you are in. You don't need to maintain. Somebody else maybe, as a miner, maybe maintaining your block and the whole chain. I think next scenario give you a little more thought process to it, and I'll stop and explain. Okay, so proof of work, nothing but validation of a change needed to a block. It has to be done. Then a miner may pick up that and then fix it. Okay, that's a concept of miners. Yeah. Now, I'll you can keep those terms there. Block, data, hash, previous hash, genesis, and then we talked about proof of validation or those type of things. We'll leave there. Now this is close to a Bitcoin or money transfers. We talk about very simple terms. I'm not a pro in finance. I'm trying to learn. Ledger. Everybody knows what's a ledger, right? Like say debit, credit. Any money transaction goes into a book or bookkeeping. They use a ledger. So in this example, the person A has $10, and then he's transferring money $10 to B. So either A or A straight, I put that arrow mark like A to B, $10, right? Yeah, $10. And then another transfer happens $5, B to C, and another transaction happens C to D, $3, right? All good transaction. And then that's a scenario. The whole thing we can call as a ledger. But A cannot transfer $5 to D because you don't have it, right? So this is a simple ledger. So far, a lot of companies has this type of ledger, or you have a bank account, right? Your ledger sitting with the bank, right? You're trusting the bank, and bank will manage your transactions, and you always have the money, right? If you don't have money, bank don't give, transfer money to somebody else for you, right? So same concept here. This is a simple ledger. You cannot do that transaction. So let's move to a different concept. When I say distributed ledger, same ledger, the copy of the same ledger anyone can have as a copy, right? So this is called a distributed ledger, and everybody can see each other. And if it's called tamper-proof, right? Because I told that each ledger block can become in the blockchain technology. So you cannot change a transaction. Because you did, I transferred $10 to B. After 10 days, you come back and say, no, you need to do only $8. You cannot change once you recorded the transaction. You can change it, but then it's a tremendously cumbersome process to change that, right? So that's the distributed ledgers they call open, secured, and peer-to-peer network. It's not one bank owns it. It is in the network, like we talk about internet, how it works, similarly. And tamper-proof, I already told that it de-identified, like the hash key makes the identification of a person or identification of a transaction, removed. And multiple/replicated copies. Whoever wants a copy, you can have a copy. But you're talking about the copy of a big ledger, really, really big. Unless you have a really big machine, you cannot keep it, right? So individuals may not keep it. Again, other new miners may, I'm listening a lot of YouTubes. They talk about what do you call trust companies or trust companies, not trusted. Trust companies are new. Trust companies are forming based on blockchain and transparent because everybody. Oh yeah, go ahead.
So, how are these copies delivered? Like, is it just like?
No, that's why it's a peer-to-peer network, right? It's same like internet. If you are a individual or a miner, you have a copy of the entire ledger, your own computer. You need to manage it. If a new transaction coming or new change coming, what miners do, everybody want to have a copy of the ledger updated, right? So one miner jump in and say, because I have super fast machines, jump in and go and do this update or a new transaction and update, and then broadcast the ledger to everybody else. It's a automated process, and you need a powerful machine to give the first solution. And once solution is broadcasted, others cannot do anything. They can receive the broadcasted solution, ledger, and then keep it themselves. And then they can look for who else is going to ask for a new transaction or a change, right? That's how it works. It's like you are not going to a company and saying that I need to do this.
Right. Okay.
Right.
If I'm a participant in this network, like one of the peer persons.
Right.
I guess so. So does that happen like in an email, or do I download a copy of the ledger somehow?
There are a lot of. I'm talking on very high level.
Okay.
The hashing, like there is a big segment of things, security and cryptography. So many things are available, and then there are providers to do the technology how to do things,
Okay.
right? And end of the slide, I have a couple of links I put as a use case. Because I'm going to talk about use case of maybe on healthcare, and it will. If you go there, YouTubes are there, more than 100,000 YouTubes there. But YouTubes are good to think the concept, and then you can jump into other case. I would say business case or links provided like a big companies like IBM, the Change Healthcare. So many are there. I'll give a little bit details at the end. Yeah, the question is valid. Right? I'm also confused, right? Who manages it? So again, you have to think it in other line, like how the internet is being managed, right? Internet components are like a Cisco router and a server, and a company has that and their own data, and then they share over the network, right? It is similarly, this is not internet. You can say blockchain as a parallel technology or a framework, okay? And I bought two concepts. This is the third one. This is maybe last one. First was the block, and then we talk about the ledger and how the distributed ledger and peer-to-peer and open, right? Next thing is the smart contract. Again, money transfer or transactions. It need not to be really money also, right? You can have any contracts or people discuss terms and conditions. End of it, you write into paper and then both signed, you're good, right? But if you buying and selling a home, you have a title company to do all those stuff, right? Similarly, different entities like government agencies or insurance companies to manage your claims and other things. So smart contract is purely based on software. All the rules are the terms and conditions are all written in software, and the piece of code verify the contract and execute it too. So everything is in one piece, automated and available. And you don't need a third party because everything is coded. And you are keeping that smart contract in kind of a blockchain technology. Okay. Again, the other two details are nothing but the blockchain features, basically used for smart contracts. Yeah, yeah.
So once that block is created initially, is it immutable?
Yeah, it's immutable. It's immutable.
It can
Yeah.
change.
So you can change, but then there is a big what do you call cost to it, right? If you want to change one block in between,
Yeah.
you need
Earlier slides.
yeah, or you have to entire remaining chain need to be corrected. Like we call cascading effect.
So what does the software do that's embedded in that block?
Yeah, if you're using smart contracts stored in blockchain, the smart contract you build, there are new type of software names, but even you can get it in JavaScripting also. Something called Solidify. Yeah.
As time goes by, the software in the block can't change the block.
No. Once the contract, everything you coded, and then once you execute it, you're done.
Okay.
Right? Once you execute it, you're done. I'll come to the use cases. Then we don't have much time there, right? That's why we will come to that discussion more.
Thanks.
So the remaining lines are nothing but I'm reiterating the features of blockchain when it comes to smart contract. I don't want to read. I think these slides will be available end of the presentation. So this is again showing in a picture form. I collected all these things from YouTube. If you go and search, you have it. Search for blockchain smart contract, you get this. The top two bitmaps are nothing but standard, regular, paper and pen. You shake hand and you're done the deal, right? But when it comes to blockchain, there are three things, right? First is like the logical flow of it, and then these days they're mentioning coding means less than / greater than. That's nothing but a code, and then execution, the gears, right? That's what, and this is stored on a blockchain framework, right? That's a picture representation I put, and the previous slide is more, verbiage. Now, I may talk a little bit about me, but you don't have to focus there more. I already mentioned I have 29 years here in this space of IT. So if you look at the center circle, I'm a dreamer. I always think, what is the next big thing, and then I keep on try to evolve myself or try to do it. So a dreamer, workspace, 29 years. Majority of time I was a database administrator, and I was an architect, and then I worked in a couple of companies previous. You can see Spectrum Health, Priority Health. It's a couple of people supporting me here, from Spectrum Health. I was a consultant there. That's CSC Quansis there. I came from India in '96. That's nseindia.com. It was a startup company, and if I think Mahendra may know or Dinesh may know, if you look at the NSE index, Nifty, my code in it. Because we started it, we built that. It's still running. I know how the base is. It's a very simple base, I'll explain you later. And academics, I did two masters, and then third one is going on. That's why this is Michigan sign. Right now I'm doing executive MBA with University of Michigan. When I look at the other space, my business acumen, more IT operation. And then in healthcare, I'm almost 19 years. I worked for Spectrum Health, Priority Health about 18 years. Now I'm back to Kaiser permanently. I want to talk with the name. That's why I put as in this presentation title as a researcher, amateur researcher. So I want to make a dent in or make my name put into healthcare before I leave my IT job. So that's why I'm keep on trying to polish it. Use cases. We already talked about a little bit of money transaction. That's why I put the institutions, like how you transfer money, banks. I want to send money to India. You have a third party needed. You go to one bank, and the bank may talk to SWIFT, international banking system. Many people are there. And then the blockchain can remove the third party because you can do directly interact with the other end. The blockchain should be able to help that piece. When it comes to healthcare, I put in the middle, like in the cross sign, and I signed up for this presentation. My life is in 3 different locations. I have a home here still, that's why I come and go. I live in east side of Michigan, that's in Novi, and I work in Atlanta. For class, I go to LA, right? So, but I worked in a healthcare area, and yesterday I had a doctor's appointment, like a regular doctor's appointment. So when I signed up for this presentation, my target is I want to have control on my block. If I go to a doctor and then finish everything and I come back home, that particular transaction, I should have a say in it, I should see it. And if I need to give to somebody else, I should be able to give my key to somebody else and then move on. Otherwise, if I came in 96, I might have had 6 different health plans. Yesterday is my second doctor's appointment in my new workplace. They don't have any other information. I'm a new fresh guy there, right? So where is all my transactions? I'm talking about the EMR type of transactions. It's there in multiple places, but nobody, it's not threaded. If it is in a blockchain and I have a say in it, it can be threaded, and I should be able to very easily give whole history to my new doctor, right? So that's why I put there in the healthcare space as a use case. I have only links to 2 links I put it in behind this. One is IBM working with the FDA to build a blockchain-related application to maintain FDA records. So you don't need to worry about the trust and other factors, right? You may see another YouTube from IBM. IBM already in a big blockchain application and trying to get into different spaces, EMR or even claims processing. And I have a second link that I got from, if you have time, go to linuxfoundation.org. They have a project called Hyperledger. And it's very fascinating. And then there's a company called Change Healthcare. And I think they are merged by McKesson and some other company they merged. And the new name is Change Healthcare. They have a claims processed, and in the keynote they talk about even my company. So I don't know them in my workplace, but they in the keynote they talk about they use blockchain for their transactional system and its production. So that's links I put it down here, FDA and linuxfoundation.org. If you search for I was searching for only Ledger and then Smart Ledger or a distributed ledger, and it brought up Hyperledger, and that's what Change Healthcare use case I put there. The FDA IBM, it's kind of a news article, and I said I cannot put YouTube links because I did see through more than 10, 20 YouTubes, because I said I traveled, right? Even this morning when I driving from Novi to Grand Rapids, my car was playing YouTube. I'm not watching it, I'm listening, right? So disclaimers, right? All discussions may come from as an amateur researcher point of view. If you want to use it in your workplace, you have to read or validate, and then you may be able to productionize it. So all credits goes to other areas. Not none of these things are with me. Yeah, that's all I have. I put a link to LinkedIn. If anybody want to connect me through LinkedIn, more than welcome. And as I said, next 2 to 3 years, or in 5 years, this next big thing may take effect. It's already there in 2 different places. I do money transaction through Chase, like you have QuickPay or Zelle. Fundamentally, they're using a blockchain technology behind the scene. They're not using the regular money transaction transfer things, like a clearing and settlement with a different third party, and 2 banks talk each other. It's not that. And that's why it's faster too, right? You might have seen the QuickPay and Zelle type of Zoom, and many are there these days. Another one is in Atlanta. I was talking to someone, smart contract example. I talked to that company. I don't want to type it out because they said You come and learn the thing and then talk. I don't want to, and then, but I said, yeah, I can mention the website name, right? Because it's already public, right? Nurse Token, nursetoken.com. Nurse Token, nothing but the nurses, when they join new hospital, they had to do the profiling or credential verifications. If they work there 1 year and then if they move to another hospital, they have to redo the same. Redo the same. So your credentials are a block, like I was mentioning about my EMR block, right? So the nurse token applying blockchain and smart contract for a nurse. And once it is in the system, they are able to transact with the companies or different agencies. So nursetoken.com. Any final thoughts? I mean, I think maybe leaving a little early, or I have 10 minutes more.
Kurian, I'm coming from a retail background.
Right.
My company is kind of looking at blockchain to solve the problem of supply chain, to have that traceability of a product from the source to all the way to the customer. So that's another.
Right. If you look at the YouTube, there are a lot of story or analogies for big shipping business, like freights and shipping type of thing. I mean, that's kind of a supply chain, right?
Right.
That it's already applied.
Yeah. What I'm saying, this is more applicable to the food industry, because customer is more concerned with where his or her food is sourced from. Yeah, there's a USDA organic sign, but am I really sourcing it from a organic list?
Yeah, there is an example. Like this morning I'm listening.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, like somebody labeled organic. You may be taking a picture from YouTube or somewhere and then putting it in your logo and then using bananas here, and the other side is a banana with the organic logo. But we are trusting a particular retail store, right? The trust factor rely on a third party. But if you put it into blockchain, that trust is within the block, and the block can be visible to everybody participating in, not only just one retail store, right? Retail store or that supply guy discussed, right? No. So the entire whatever transactions, smart contract, you are putting into blockchain and it is distributed, and but your identification is not there. But we know that nobody going to tamper what you originally put there, right? So the trust factor is a very big thing is here, and then avoiding third party. So when you avoiding third party means you are removing a lot of cost. But then if you want to go and change something, you may not be able to do it yourself. You need to find a miner to fix it. So then there is a fees come, right? Miner, when the miners look at the ledger or smart contract block or list, his interest is nothing but computing power. I have a world super fast computer, and I can do it in 10 seconds instead of 10 minutes, right? So then they may start charging. So it could be evolving. Finally we don't know. It's blockchain, and miners may compete, and then finally you would say, okay, miner is nothing but a third party. No, that's my thinking.
So are you saying that, so my understanding of blockchain is that it kind of do the distributor trust and how it's third party?
Right.
Are all certifying agencies from the picture. So are you saying that there will be a third party still?
Third party as a participant, right? The miner is nothing but a participant in it, right? And then you're trying to solve the problem while other participants also seeing it, or they have an opportunity also to take it, right? To take the pie money, right? So there's high competition and transparency, right? If I look at healthcare again, I feel not getting full transparency for me in my thinking only. Okay, I did 6 years back. I did it's like a free talk. Okay, 6 years back I put a startgarden.com. I put an idea, simple idea, options trading. Anybody know options trading, or at least know what it is?
Oh,
Yeah, Wall Street. You don't need to go that far. Similar example. I'm selling my home, right? Okay, my home sale price is like 300,000, and I put it in listing, and then someone walked by and then looked at my price and they say, okay, it may be a good buy, but I'm not ready to pay money and buy it. So I'll say, as a seller, I'll say, okay, I cannot just like that hold it for you. I'll write a small contract. Sale price will be 300,000, and I'll give you 3 months, holding, and then that is my contract, and then we both signed. And then within 3 months, stock, not stock, come back to stock. The home value may go up, price may go up. He has a paper gain, like maybe 310. So $10,000 is a paper gain in a week or 1 month or until third month period, right, before the contract ends. He has all the right to sell, buy and sell maybe, right? Options are more like a right to do the thing, like a right to either buy or right to sell. They call it an option exercise, right? Once you exercise it, you have to pay the money and then exercise, and then you do your second transaction, make the money, right? So that's options contract and option trading. I'm coming from the stock market background. I told you already. When it comes to healthcare, when I look at it, when you are young and healthy, from 20 to 30, you start working, you making money, and you have started healthcare, plan and things. Or you are paying, or your company may be paying, or government may be paying. But when I look at, I'm talking 5-6 years back, every 10 years, you are paying almost 100,000. Every year, each person paying almost 10,000 plus. You may be paying from your pocket, or maybe government paying, or your company is paying. I'm talking a rough order of magnitude. 20 to 30, you're paying 100,000. 30 to 40, you're paying 100,000. Until 50, you're good. I'm 50 plus. So you're good. But when it comes after 50, you may have issues coming, right? You're getting older, or I would say, catastrophical type of medical issues, either back pain or knee joint or anything, or heart stuff. Each ticket or a procedure is big money business. It may be one area hospital, maybe 25,000. In South America, it may be 5,000. In India, maybe 10,000. Other place, maybe 100,000. I'm talking like a procedure. Okay, every hospital or business, I can say hospital kind of a business, and they know what they're doing, including the doctor and the procedure, because the standard procedures are there. So make a contract and publish it, saying that okay, this particular procedure, hospital, publish the price of a procedure, right? And then is a contract, right? Then let's start options trading on the contract. So may not be individual, may not go and buy, right? I'm a heart condition, I may not go and I don't know all the nitty gritty of it. But insurance companies are trying to see how to mitigate the risk and how to manage, where to save the cost or money, right? So they can go and buy the bundles of option contracts. So I try to bring up I have a website called, it's still there.
That's a great idea.
It's great, but it didn't succeeded. My first pitch is called EX4GH, Exchange for Global Healthcare. So I talked to my stock exchange friends, and we looked at it, the thing. That time, it's not, I'm talking 5-6 years back, it's not, the idea is not much liquid. You don't get many option contracts available for you. Right? Each hospital has to put, and then hospital one will put it, this is a procedure for this standard set of symptoms, and this is a set of procedure. This is my contract, and then some other hospital may say, no, I have a better procedure and cheaper price. So I was looking at all ethical business and liquidity, and it didn't succeed. I tried to get only $5,000 from startgarden.com that time, but I maintained my website from that day, 6 years. So if you go to my LinkedIn page, you'll see my dream projects. I call always dream projects, but nobody cannot take it away from me yet. Right? The other one is I bought this watch maybe about 6 months, 7 or 8 months back. The next day, as I said, I'm always a dreamer, right? Next day, I registered a website called iwatchdoctor.com. If you go there, it will be just lifestyle coaching type of thing. I put it there, but behind the scene, I may mix and match and try to get everything into healthcare. I want to get into a big thing one day. Okay, so extra 10 minutes done. Sorry. Yeah, you have some?
So you mentioned in your talk electronic health records. So how would the practical side be? So you need a bunch of servers to multiply the blockchain, yeah?
Right.
And each server gets in return then Bitcoin payment for hosting basically or doing the transactions.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you get, how many do you need? 1,000, 2,000? And how do you get 2,000 people who run servers to commit to this particular project?
Yeah, it's a scale, right? When you start, it's scale, right? I think minus slide I put cloud, right? I'm still puzzled with cloud too, right? I'm an infrastructure guy. I'm a database, and last 6-8 years I'm doing only servers. You call it, I don't do anything these days, but I only talk. So the miners, right? The miners may manage thousands of machines, and then they solve blockchain. They make sure the thread is clean, and then available to anybody, anytime, right? So maybe you may have to start. You cannot do brick and mortar style, your own stand-up machines. It may not work, right? Because it'd be exponential. So you may have to move into a cloud provider like Amazon or I don't want to get any names, but it may be that way you have to approach, right? Otherwise, my current workplace, we have more than 100 EXA because we are still brick and mortar. And we do Oracle databases, and we have 4,000 Oracle databases and another 4,000 SQL Server. So we are moving few things into Azure. We don't have any cloud space for other pieces yet because it takes time to see. But I was in an Amazon conference last week. Amazingly, things are changing. I'll tell you, I'm coming from the background of RDBMS and SQL typing. Another 5 years' time, the SQL you may not use in your regular workplace, or you have to at least pick up one more other technology. And I'm putting my other head. It's evolving. I think the Amazon, they talked about Redshift. They're ready to throw anything coming on other side. SQL Server, MySQL, Oracle, everything you can dump it onto the other side. Amazon cloud space. They're a big time supply chain, right? I had been to a Google conference too, data conference. Google complained Amazon is a supply chain company. They cannot do anything. Google is a data company. They have their own network to reach. So if you want to go to Google Cloud, once you put your data into Google Cloud, the data is not going out of Google Cloud unless you take it out. That's their pitching. And they said if you put a type of word in browser, just type THE, it'll come back in 3 seconds. How many occurrence or instances in the entire world, they say. They showed me directly in the demo. So Google is the best data company, but I don't know why they're not caught up with Amazon or Azure. Yeah. Yeah, sure.
At the end of the transaction, would it be possible to decrypt and kind of take over anything that was kind of given or used within that transaction?
Yeah, that's it.
Obviously, it would be traceable.
Yeah, that's why you have the key. Once you give the key to the other party you want to deliver.
The hacking procedure. So if someone was to hack me, would I be able to, obviously I can track them because of the fact that it would be monitored within the blockchain, but would I be able to get back that from the hacked blockchain because it would be distributed amongst however many accounts they chose to distribute?
I didn't read into somebody hacking into a blockchain area yet. I don't know yet. but I can bring you another interesting thought why we talked about hacking. The traditional brick and mortar databases and other things, or you're trusting with the one third party and putting everything into one bucket. So one hacking happened, you entire stuff is gone, right? In the blockchain area, you say one miner's copy may get hacked, and then, yeah, it's an interesting thing. I never, I trusted in a way saying that, oh, hash is the hash key is the totally protected place, and only one person and a second person can decrypt is because you are giving authority to give the second person. Say, okay, this is my key. You open it and then use it, right? Yeah, but that's a good point. I made to research on it. Yeah, one behind.
Because you have all these copies.
Well, I never said it was difficult, I just said it wasn't traceable.
Yeah, hold on.
Traceable.
Yeah.